welcome to World Nightly Report. Today is November 26th, 2024. Bhutan has launched a nationwide composting program as part of its commitment to becoming a zero-waste nation. The initiative encourages households, schools and businesses to turn organic waste into nutrient-rich fertilizer for agriculture. The government has provided free composting bins and organized workshops to teach composting techniques. While urban areas are embracing the initiative, rural regions face logistical challenges such as limited access to bins and training. Environmental groups have praised the effort, noting its potential to reduce landfill waste and support Bhutan's organic farming goals. The program is expected to cut waste by 40% within 3 years. Malawi held a regional summit on water conservation today in Lilongwe, drawing representatives from 10 African nations. The summit focused on strategies to combat drought and ensure sustainable water management amid climate change. Key topics included water recycling, community irrigation projects, and transboundary water sharing. Delegates signed a joint declaration committing to increased collaboration and funding for water conservation initiatives. Critics, however, expressed concerns about implementation, noting the lack of clear timelines and accountability mechanisms. Activists urged governments to act swiftly, as millions in the region already face water scarcity. Estonia reported a surge in applications for its digital nomad visa, which allows remote workers to reside in the country for up to a year. Officials attribute the increase to global interest in Estonia's digital infrastructure and quality of life. Applicants from tech-heavy industries like software development and marketing have flocked to the program. Remote workers praised Estonia's efficient e-governance services and affordable cost of living compared to other European nations. However, some critics argue that the program does little for local job creation. Estonia plans to evaluate the program's long-term economic impact in 2025. Uruguay has begun rolling out a fleet of electric buses in Montevideo as part of its sustainable transport strategy. The project, funded by international grants and private investors, aims to replace 20% of diesel buses by 2026. Commuters welcomed the quieter, emissions-free rides, although some routes experienced delays due to drivers adjusting to the new vehicles. Officials have promised additional training to improve service. Environmentalists view the initiative as a crucial step toward reducing Uruguay's urban pollution. The government is also exploring incentives to expand the program to smaller cities. Fiji hosted a workshop on climate resilience for Pacific Island nations today in Suva. Attendees discussed disaster preparedness and strategies for adapting to rising sea levels and extreme weather events. Experts shared case studies on mangrove restoration, sustainable tourism, and renewable energy adoption. Participants emphasized the need for international support, citing limited resources in small island nations. The workshop concluded with a call for unity among among Pacific nations to amplify their voice on global climate platforms like COP29. Springfield, Illinois, in United States, is facing intense political infighting within its municipal government, sparked by disagreements over the city's public safety budget. The controversy centers on a proposed $12 million allocation for police and fire department upgrades, which Mayor Cynthia Ralston and her administration argue is critical to addressing aging equipment and understaffing. The City Council, however, is deeply divided, with progressive members calling for reallocating some of the funds toward community outreach programs and affordable housing initiatives. Councilwoman Linda Chavez, a vocal critic of the proposal, argued, "Public safety isn't just about response times. It's about addressing root causes like poverty and homelessness." Her stance has garnered support from local activists, but drawn sharp criticism from law enforcement representatives. During a heated council meeting this week, tensions boiled over as opposing factions clashed over priorities. Supporters of the budget accused detractors of jeopardizing public safety, while opponents labeled the proposal as a missed opportunity to invest in long-term solutions. The meeting ended without a resolution, leaving the city in a deadlock just weeks before the budget deadline. Residents, too, are split on the issue. Some have expressed frustration at the deteriorating state of emergency services, recounting experiences with delayed response times and malfunctioning equipment. Others have rallied behind calls for systemic change, attending protests and urging officials to address social inequities alongside public safety. The turmoil has drawn statewide attention, with political analysts suggesting the conflict reflects broader national debates over police funding and resource allocation. Mayor Ralston has urged compromise, warning that the failure to pass the budget could lead to furloughs and further strain on city services. As negotiations continue, Springfield's residents wait anxiously to see how their leaders will navigate this contentious issue. Moving on to markets. Vitagro Organics, stock symbol VGO, a company specializing in sustainable agricultural products, saw its stock rise 1.2% today to close at $19.84. The increase follows the launch of its new biofertilizer line, Eco Yield, which promises to boost crop yields while reducing environmental impact. The product has already gained traction in the US Midwest and parts of Southeast Asia, regions where farmers are increasingly adopting eco-friendly farming practices. Vitagro's CEO Sandra Liu highlighted the company's commitment to innovation, stating, "Eco Yield represents our dedication to providing sustainable solutions for global food security." Despite the positive movement, analysts remain cautious about Vitagro's long-term outlook, citing supply chain issues that could hinder distribution. However, with growing demand for sustainable agriculture, the company is well positioned for continued growth if it can scale production efficiently. Nexi Robotics, stock symbol NXR, rose 2.5%, closing at $51.78. The company announced a new line of warehouse automation bots that promise to increase productivity by 40%. Early pre-orders have exceeded expectations, signaling strong market demand. is also exploring partnerships with major e-commerce firms, which could drive future revenue growth. Analysts believe Nex's focus on logistics solutions positions it well in an industry increasingly reliant on automation. Bioharvest Pharma, stock symbol BHP, gained 1.8%, closing at $33.14. The biotech firm recently received FDA approval for a plant-based treatment for migraines. The drug, expected to launch early next year, has shown promising trial results. With this approval, Bioharvest is expanding its global footprint, targeting European markets for subsequent approvals. Investors are optimistic about the company's ability to capitalize on this breakthrough. Echo Steel Manufacturing, stock symbol ESM, rose 1.1%, ending the day at $45.09. The company's eco-friendly steel production methods have attracted interest from several automakers seeking sustainable materials. Echo Steel recently signed a major supply contract with a German car maker, marking a significant milestone in its growth strategy. The deal is expected to contribute substantially to its revenue next year. Aerotech Dynamics, stock symbol ADD, an aerospace and defense technology firm, saw its stock climb 2.7% today, closing at $68.22. The jump followed an announcement that the company has entered a partnership with a private space exploration firm to develop advanced propulsion systems for deep space missions. The partnership, which includes a multi-year development agreement, positions Aerotech as a key player in the burgeoning commercial space industry. CEO Mark Calloway emphasized the collaboration's significance, stating, "This marks a major step forward in our efforts to push the boundaries of space exploration technology." Investors are optimistic about the deal, particularly as government and private funding for space initiatives continues to grow. Analysts expect Aerotech's diversified portfolio and expertise in propulsion systems to drive sustained revenue growth in coming years. Swiftfin Technologies, stock symbol SFT, dropped 0.7%, closing at $28.45. The company is facing delays in rolling out its next-generation payment platform. Despite these challenges, remains confident in the product's potential to disrupt the fintech space. The platform, designed to streamline cross-border transactions, is expected to launch by mid-2025. Analysts remain cautiously optimistic, citing the company's strong track record in innovation. Arctic Power Energy, stock symbol APE, gained 0.9%, closing at $39.68. The renewable energy firm recently expanded its operations in Canada's Northwest Territories, focusing on wind and solar projects. The company also announced a pilot program to integrate geothermal energy into its portfolio, which could position it as a leader in diversified renewable energy solutions. Moving on to sports. In the Croatian Handball League, RK Zagreb narrowly defeated RK Nexa 28-27. The match was marked by defensive errors and missed opportunities, but Zagreb's goalkeeper delivered crucial saves in the dying moments. Zagreb's win solidifies their place at the top of the league, while Nexe faces criticism for inconsistent performances despite their promising roster. Cerro Porteño beat Guarani 2-1 in a scrappy Paraguayan football league encounter. The game featured numerous fouls and a red card, but Cerro Porteño managed to clinch the victory with a late goal. The win boosts Cerro Porteño's playoff chances while Guarani's struggles continue in a disappointing season. The ZSC Lions defeated HC Lugano 4-2 in the Swiss Ice Hockey League. While the Lions' offense was effective, the game lacked excitement due to frequent stoppages and lackluster defensive play. Lugano's coach vowed to address their defensive lapses as the team risks falling out of playoff contention. Tusker FC played out a dull 0-0 draw with Gor Mahia in the Kenyan Premier League. Both teams failed to create clear scoring chances, frustrating fans who expected a livelier performance from the league's top contenders. With this result, Tusker remains in first place, but Gor Mahia missed a chance to close the gap in the standings. In Bangkok's Challenger Tennis Tournament, a match between Brazil's Lucas Ferreira and Japan's Taiji Ito turned into a comedy of errors. Ferreira prevailed 7-5, 4-6, 6-3, but the match included 32 double faults and countless unforced errors from both players. Despite the win, Ferreira admitted frustration with his performance, while Ito vowed to work on his serve. Spectators described the match as painful to watch, but stayed for the novelty of its unpredictability. Meanwhile, in United States, in what may be remembered as one of the most uneventful games of the season in American football, the Appalachian Bowl between the Cumberland Mountaineers and the Blue Ridge Wildcats ended in 9-6 victory for the Mountaineers. Neither team managed to score a touchdown, with all points coming from field goals that punctuated an otherwise lifeless performance on both sides of the ball. The game featured a staggering 11 punts, numerous 3-and-outs, and a combined 162 yards of total offense, the lowest in the bowl's history. Quarterbacks struggled mightily with the Mountaineers' Tyle Griggs, completing just 7 of 22 passes for 53 yards and an interception, while the Wildcats' Kyle Ross fared no better, throwing for 68 yards and a pair of costly fumbles. The highlight, if it can be called that, was a 42-yard field goal by the Mountaineers kicker midway through the third quarter. Fans in attendance expressed their dissatisfaction through boos and the steady streams of early departures. By the fourth quarter, the stadium was half empty and even the commentators struggled to find enthusiasm, resulting to lengthy tangents about each team's off-season prospects. This was a defensive battle, one commentator attempted, though many would argue it was simply a lack of offensive competency. Despite the uninspired performance, the Mountaineers celebrated their win with subdued fanfare, claiming their first bowl victory in 5 years. Wildcats head coach Dan Preston called it a tough loss in a half-fought game, though critics are more likely to remember it as a slog that tested patience of even the most devoted football fans. Both teams will need to assess their strategies moving forward to avoid similar debacles in the future. This concludes tonight's World Nightly Report. If you're still awake, probably listen to another episode. Like, share, comment. Somnifier is out. Good night.